Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're watching Journalist Hangouts on Sunday. Now let's come back to Lagos. To go or not to go is the raging debate over operations of notorious commercial motorcyclists in Lagos, Nigeria's economic hub and commercial capital. In a bid to bring sanity on the roads and improve security, the Lagos State government has resolved to enforce a total ban on operations of commercial motorcycles, popularly called Okada, across the state. This resolution was reached at a stakeholders meeting in Lagos, where experts tasked the state government on the total ban and use of cutting-edge technology to keep the city safer. Let's share the story by TVC News' Nelson Etta with you.
Of Okadas to some routes and areas in Lagos.
Officials of the Lagos State government and stakeholders are gathered here to deliberate on issues critical to transport reform and security. At the stakeholders forum with the theme Okada ban, what next? They resolve that there is a need to enforce a total ban on operations of commercial motorcycles in Lagos.
If you support that day to come, please say a resounding yea. As they always say in the Senate and the House of Reps, they have it.
The forum reviewed the ban on Okada in 6 local government areas, including Surulere, Etiosa, Lagos Island, Lagos Mainland, and Ikeja, as well as 9 local council development areas on the 1st of June.
Mr. Governor made a pronouncement on the ban of motorcycle operations in 6 local government areas and their respective LCDAs, 9 in total.
The forum was also to determine the status of the ban and establish effectiveness of enforcement, among other related issues.
In those six local governments, it's equally happening in others.
The State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Benga Omotosho, stressed that the stakeholders meeting was significant to getting feedback from residents for an inclusive government, which the administration of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu upholds.
Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the governor, in the spirit of transparency and openness, for which is very well known, permitted us to go and hold this discussion and to call all segments of the society to come into this hall and tell us what they feel we should do next about Okada, considering the security situation, considering the safety of our people, considering all of the things that we need to do about our journey to Greater Lagos.
An environmental expert, Professor Bamidele Badejo, said the menace has destroyed economic and labor fabrics in the state, stressing that more young people who should have been engaged in craft and agro-businesses, among other productive ventures, have settled for riding Okada.
The Okada menace has destroyed the skilled labor workforce. You don't see people learning to be mechanic, learning to be carpenter, to be bricklayer. Everybody is now heading for Okada. If you are constructing or building your houses now, you have to go to Cotonou, you have to go to Republic of Benin and bring in all those people to start doing the work. All the tilers we have today are foreigners. All the bricklayers that are today, they are foreigners. So we need to go back.
The State Commissioner for Transportation, Frederick Oladeinde, said crime rate in the areas concerned has reduced by 86% and accidents by 63.7% in the last 6 months. He noted that a total of 7,500 motorcycles were impounded and crushed within the period.
Today, we are delighted to report our position on the review of the anti-Okada enforcement operation in the last 2 months. It is important to mention that the operation has recorded significant successes and compliance. In the affected areas within the periods under review, available records show that crime and accident rate reduced astronomically by 86% and 63.7% respectively, while a total of 7,500 motorcycles were impounded and crushed accordingly.
Representatives from religious and traditional institutions as well as community development associations across 57 local government and local council development areas of the state, civil society organizations, and security heads, among others, were in attendance. They made submissions on the effects of the ban on road accidents and security, as well as compliance by riders.
Should be banned all over. One man power will call you, what is good for the goose is good for the gander.
A wise man once said, when we don't do what we know, we won't know what to do. The challenge for us Lagosians is doing what we know. Let's go back and add actions to our words.
According to reports from the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASMA, commercial motorcycle-related accidents have reduced by 4%, as only 68 cases were recorded in June, against 74 recorded in May 2022. Another report from the State Ministry of Health confirms that accidents involving commercial motorcycles recorded in general hospitals across the state have reduced by 63.5%, as 176 cases were reported in June against 277 recorded in May. TVC News' Babajide Kolade Otitoju, who was the moderator of the forum, highlighted the yearnings of residents of Lagos to Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu.
The message from all those who have spoken so far is very clear. Government has to take a big decision. May God give our governor the wisdom to take a decision of utilitarian value. And I believe that decision will happen.
In a swift move, the state government banned operations of commercial motorcycles in additional 4 local government areas and 6 local council development areas effective from the 1st of September. This is the phase 2 of the ban on operations of commercial motorcycles in the state. Nelson Etta, TVC News, Lagos.
There you have it. Gentlemen, Okada issue is largely an emotive issue. Yeah. You cannot talk about it without people getting emotional. BK, you moderated that meeting. What were some of the resolutions made there?
Yeah, the people, before now, the restriction was restricted to 6 local governments and 9 local council development areas. But the people were saying law should not be discriminatory in its application. If you have a situation in which we are seeing the fruits, the dividends of coming up with that law, what would make sense is to extend this ban to other parts of the state. You shouldn't be happy to see accident rates reduce in the areas where you have banned Okada, and then watch their menace continue in other places, leading to loss of lives and property. So that was why the people just felt, look, law should not be discriminatorily applied. Let that same law be applied to other areas. There were some who said the state government should come up with alternatives. The inner city roads, you need small buses that we call Korokwe, for example, that have been popular in Ekiti long before some individuals began to share them here in Lagos. That the Korokwe's can go into the inner city roads, so that they can pick people. People can get to their destinations using them. And many people are also of the view that even places that we could trek to, these days, people are too lazy to trek. They would rather pick a bike. That look, that is not even good for our health, our cardiovascular health. That it makes sense to let people trek more, And frankly, too, some suggested that our politicians were in the habit of donating Okadas as empowerment items, that they should stop doing that. And then even the security agencies, a lot of them have Okada, and how do you arrest them? For example, and I gave an example of a day when I saw, even though it was already banned, the Okadas, and it was already, the law was there that Okada should not be taken to the international airport area. But you see a soldier fully kitted, riding his bike and even picking passengers all the way to the international airport. Who gets to arrest him? You know, some of them will put the stickers of the security agencies on their bikes so that they can be insulated against arrest. So these are some of the issues. Our people want to be safe, and before now, we found a way to get to our destinations. Okada, the prevalence or the huge number of Okadas in Lagos now, we didn't know anything like this in the 80s. Yeah, people found a way to move around. So, and we've seen states that banned them, and they're getting by. I gave the example of Kano. Kano, for example, I never thought Kano could ban Okada because we had far more Okadas in Kano than Lagos. But today, it's been banned in response to the killings happening when Boko Haram was at the peak of his strength in 2013, 2014. They had to ban them, and it's working, you know? So we've seen some states too, apart from Kano, also ban it. So if those states could ban it, look at Akwa Ibom. That's where the Okada even began in Nigeria. You know, if they could ban it in its cradle, why are we thinking that it should never be banned, or it can never be banned?
We get there.
So many issues came up, and I think it was a far more successful deliberation than even the first one we had sometime last year. So the people who have spoken, it's up to Governor Sanwo-Olu to now listen to them. I think his first response was to add 4 more local governments. Maybe ultimately it will spread across the state, but the people have spoken, and since he gave them the opportunity to speak, it is incumbent on him to act on the desires of the people.
All right, Bikeo Adewale, this is the second phase of the ban. Let's talk about enforcement.
Well, I think what you need is the political will. But most important also is the state of mind of Nigerians. That do I feel safe to ride Okada? Once we're able to educate people. For instance, I've just listened to the figures about the accident rate and then the crime rate, which has gone down drastically. I think those are very important information. But one thing we should know is that we should look at this issue from historical context. Problem of unemployment, poor transportation system, poor urban and regional planning. There is no accessible roads in rural areas, rural communities, even urban centers. And then corruption. Tax that some people collect from Okada riders. The fact that also the people feel that Okada is fast and it's accessible. But the overriding factor will be human life, human safety, whatever we are doing. So if we are talking about people losing their life, in fact, you go to orthopedic hospital, you see a ward, you see people with broken limbs, broken skulls, you start wondering that should people make money survive on the misery of other people? So you see a lot of people that have lost their pregnancy, miscarriages, because they rode Okada from one place to the other. You see children, two months, somebody coming from hospital, just less than 7 days old baby on Okada. Is that not a sin? Is that not a crime? So I think, if Kano, like Babagide said, Enugu, I was in Enugu to know Okada. We are thanking El Rufai now because of the ban of Okada in Abuja. At the time, it was a mess. So people initially feel the pain, but the overriding utilitarian good, the highest good of the highest number, I think people will think that, will realize that. And you see, the man said one thing I think is very important. The artisan economy. People, bricklayers, tailors, artisan mechanics, they are living in droves. If you go to some buildings that are being built, we are just going to find that all of them are from Togo. At the end of the year, they go with millions of naira back to their country. So we are no longer having artisans. And I think the Lagos State government has done something that is very remarkable. I think they started about 2 years ago through 21st Century Talent Hunt. They were training people in local communities. I think with the Lagos State government, training people, 20 people in local communities in entrepreneurship. Because if you look at those old days, you go to our cities, those buildings were built by bricklayers, by rewire people, by mechanics, not politicians. Hard work. Those things are no longer there. So if we are talking of a state like Lagos that has the trust fund, and then we are talking about the 21st Century Talent Hunt, where people are being trained in local areas about entrepreneurship, I think we can go back to that kind of process whereby people that are losing their jobs will go back to that 21st Century Training Center.
All right.
They'll be trained and then they can contribute more meaningfully to the economy.
All right, quickly, BK, taking a cue from what Adewale said, educating people, because I cannot lie to you, some residents of Lagos are seeing this as the elite versus the poor. They have said, okay, ban Okada in Ikoyi, ban Okada in, but don't ban in Mushin, don't ban in Shomolu, leave us here. Beyond safety, they are not looking at that.
Well, people need to understand. You see, if they were even in the habit of respecting traffic codes and all the rest, nobody will bother. But if you try to arrest an Okada man, be ready for mob action. Some of the people who are enforcing this law, you've seen them come away with broken heads and all that. They are always quick to resort to violence. And a good number of these people that we think or that we owe it a duty to keep them on their jobs, they are not even Nigerians. Some can't speak a word of Nigerian language. I've encountered some who could not speak. I spoke Hausa to them and they didn't understand me. So why should aliens come into our country and be killing our people? Look at the nonsense that they did in Lekki the other day. You had a misunderstanding with your passenger, and the next thing, you people lynched him. They set him ablaze in broad daylight. Where are people allowed to do that? I mean, so something must give ultimately. People won't die if they don't get on a bike. There's nowhere in the world where motorcycle taxi is an integral part of commuting. Not even in Southeast Asia, where they still use it as motorcycle taxi. It's not. It won't be. It will be used only in a few areas. In hinterland places that can be accessed by vehicles, by buses and cars, not to just litter the entire landscape, as we now see. And a lot of them are criminals. They use them to snatch. You know what they don't even do? Even this, what was it called? Drug addicts now use them to buy drugs and convey to different destinations. So a lot of crimes are being committed with Okada. And I'm telling you, even the security agencies will heave a sigh of relief. They will have less work to do if they take out these guys.
Adewale, your final take on this?
Yeah, just two things that I wish the Lagos State government goes back to 21st Century Talent Hunt. They did it about 2-3 years ago, where they are going to train people in skill acquisition to be able to absorb people that are going to lose their jobs. Second one, the dispatch riders is becoming another menace.
Yes.
So while dealing with Okada, government should keep an eye on them. They need to ensure that it doesn't get out of hand. They are not Okada riders, they are dispatch riders.
People even say some of them are Okada riders.
Yes.
So now,
there's so many of them on the street, almost becoming another menace like Okada. So government should put an eye on that.
They ride even on highways.
Yes. So I think government should not forget about that. It's going to be a major problem if they don't do something now.